Dear devotees, the last couple of days I've been speaking to you about nishkamata, that on the path of bhakti we should try to be desireless. Meaning that first of all, when we pray to God, when we do devotion to God, we shouldn't ask Him for the world. Asking for the world or worldly enjoyments, that's called bhukti. So we shouldn't ask Him for bhukti. Bhukti includes all the enjoyments of this world and of Swarg, right up to Brahma's abode. That is the field of bhukti. Because that whole entire field is under Maya. And wherever a soul goes, if they remain under Maya, there is no perfect happiness. There is no release from the cycle of birth and death, or from suffering. So we have to go beyond that. Our goal is to reach God, not just to receive more worldly happiness. So if we are asking God for bhukti when we do our devotion, have we even understood the goal of doing devotion? The goal is supposed to be to surrender our mind so that we can receive His grace internally and become God realized. So if we are asking for bhukti, it shows we haven't even understood the goal. Then how will we attain our goal? It means that even though we're praying to God, but our mind is still in the world. We're asking God for the world, it means that's where our hope is. That's where our attachment is. If we had hope in God, we would ask Him for Him. But we're asking Him for the world. It shows that we don't want Him. We want to use Him to get the world. And even then, we don't have complete faith in Him. If we had complete faith, let's say someone in our family was sick. So generally we go to the doctor. But while we go to the doctor, we also go to God. Means in case the doctor fails, maybe God will help me. And in case God doesn't come to my aid, maybe the doctor will help me. So I don't have complete faith in either place, it means. So we've got to develop the attachment of our mind towards God. And this will not happen if we are praying to God for worldly things. And as I mentioned yesterday, even if we were to receive the fulfillment of all of our worldly desires from God, everything we ask for, He went on fulfilling, we would simply go on asking, because there is no end to worldly desires. So if someone really believes that God is going to fulfill my desire, then why not ask Him for that thing that would put an end to that bimari of having to ask for anything at all? Meaning, if you ask Him for Him, God, I want You, I want divine happiness, Paramanand. Once you get that, then you become whole and complete, and you don't feel the need for anything. So you would never need to ask for anything because you've received unlimited happiness. So if you believe God is going to fulfill your desire, then ask Him for the best thing, the topmost thing. The question still remains, what about examples like that of Dhruv and Draupadi, where they obviously asked for worldly things and Shri Krishna granted their wish? Dhruv had an ambition and Bhagwan Vishnu came to him and granted his wish. Draupadi had a material situation she had to deal with. She wanted help. She didn't want to be disrobed and embarrassed in front of everybody. So she asked Shri Krishna to save her from that trouble. In both cases, they were asking for material things. They were not asking for divine things. Then why were their desires fulfilled? This would seem to be in contradiction to Bhagwan's statement that He is Samadarshi. He looks upon all the same. How does he look upon all the same? Whatever karma we have done, we get the result. No more, no less. Avashyameva bhoktavyam kritang karma shubha shubham. Mahabharata. We simply undergo the consequences of the actions we did in our previous human births. God is not making adjustments. That's what he means by I'm samadarshi. I'm not making adjustments to anyone. Whatever you have done, that's exactly what you will get. Think of it like packing a suitcase for a trip. You're going on a trip. We're all going on a trip. What trip? When this physical body dies, we, meaning our soul, our true self, with our mind, we will go on and take another physical body. So what do we take with us? All of our karma. That's what we pack to take on this trip. We don't take our friends. We don't take our family. We don't take our possessions, our car, our house, our prestige, our money. All of that stays behind. We take our karma with us. So all the good actions and all the bad actions we do in this life, that comes with us, and in our next life we get the results of that. The results of the good karma is prosperity, and the results of the bad karma is some form of hardship or suffering. So God gives the results of the karma. He doesn't make adjustments, so he treats everyone the same. Whatever you did, that's what you get. Whatever you packed in your suitcase in this life, that's what you get to pull out of your suitcase in your next life. God doesn't add anything or take anything away. You packed in a lot of bad actions in this life, okay, unpack a lot of bad things in your next life. That's what you put in your suitcase. Can't blame God. So God is just. He is just to all. He doesn't treat someone different because they're of a different religion or a different ethnic background or have a different amount of wealth. No, everyone is treated exactly the same. Even Abhimanyu, look, Abhimanyu was the son of Arjun and Subhadra. Subhadra is the sister of Bhagwan Shri Krishna. So Abhimanyu is Shri Krishna's nephew. Who is Shri Krishna? Bhagwan. He's the one giving the results of all the karma. Arjun is a God-realized saint. And in addition to this, Abhimanyu, who had been married to Uttara, the one who performed their marriage, the Purohit, is none other than Bhagwan Vedavyas, another avatar of Shri Krishna. So he's surrounded by all-powerful divine personalities. And he's only 16 years old. And his young wife is pregnant with their first son, Parikshit. And in the Mahabharata war, he is killed treacherously. They cheated to kill him. And after Abhimanyu has been killed, at the end of the day's fighting, what are Shri Krishna and Arjun doing? All-powerful, all-knowing Shri Krishna and Arjun also, having received God realization, having the same power as Shri Krishna, what are they doing? Shok manare. They're sitting and feeling sad that Abhimanyu is gone. Oh, he was so young. His young wife is pregnant. What is she going to do? Couldn't Shri Krishna have prevented the death, the unjust death of Abhimanyu? No, there's no adjustments made. You see, in this world, there are laws, right? There are laws in the government. And if someone wants to get a law changed, look at how difficult it is. If some senator or someone with a seat in the House wants to get some law changed, it's a long, arduous process. So we also have laws that we live by, the laws of karma, and we're asking God to change those laws. I'm suffering and I feel like this is too much for me. I don't like suffering. God, please take my suffering away. Kashtamite tanaka. Om Jai Jagadish Hare. Please take away my suffering. Too much disease, too much physical suffering. So, what are we saying? We're saying, Bhagwan, bend the rules for me. Whatever happens to you in your life is because of your previous actions. Keep in mind, it's not what you do in this life is not destined. That's in your control. That's your free will. But what happens to you, that's your destiny that you created through your free will actions in your last life. You did those actions, now you're getting the results, and now that you don't like the results, you say, God, help me. God says, I don't make adjustments in the law of karma. Whatever you did, you have to get the results. I didn't change Abhimanyu's time of death. Bhagwan Ram didn't change his own father's time of death, Dashrath, who is so powerful. In his previous life, he was Manu. And he did devotion to Ram. Ram gave him the boon that I will become your son. So he came. Manu came as Dashrath and Ram came as his son. And in separation from Ram, when Ram was in the forest, Dashrath left his body. Bhagwan Ram lost his own father and he didn't do anything to change it. So we think through a simple prayer to God, He's going to bend the laws on our behalf. But what about, again, we come back to the case of Dhruv, the case of Draupadi. We're not in this class of devotee as Dhruv and Draupadi. That's what it comes down to. What I mean to say is, there are subsections to the law. The law of karma says whatever you've done, you have to get the results. But there's also a subsection to that law. Yada pasya pashyate rukma varnam kartaramisham purusham brahma yonim tada vidvan punya pape vidhuya niranjana paramam samyamupayiti. Mundakopanishad says, when someone has fully surrendered their mind to God, what happens is, all of their past punya and pap, punya pape vidhuya, it's washed away, completely deleted. And they get the divine vision of God. When does that happen? Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraj aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchah. Gita. Shri Krishna says, mamekam sharanam vraj, 100% surrender to me, like the Parasmani and the piece of Pharum meeting. Total surrender. In other words, our mind should touch with God. Then what happens? Bhidyate hridaya granthish chhidyante sarva sanshrayah chiyante chasya karmani tasmin drishte paravare. Mundakopanishad. You get the divine vision of God, and chiyate chasya karmani. All of your past karma is chiyate, it's destroyed. Everything you've done in this life and all of your past lifetimes, that karma is destroyed by God, is finished forever. Now there's nothing left for God to follow, right? Before there was that karma there, He had to give you the results of that karma. He was bound by that law. Now you've surrendered to Him, and according to the subsection of His law, The soul who surrenders to him 100%, he deletes all of their past karma. So now that that past karma has been deleted, whatever you ask for, he can give you. So that moment of complete surrender is the moment all of your past karma is deleted. You meet God, tasmin drishte paravare. Drishte, you see him. This was the state of Dhruv. This was the state of Draupadi. Total surrender to Shri Krishna. So that's where this subsection of the law comes in. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Gita. Shri Krishna says, if you are 100% surrendered to me, nitya abhiyukt, your mind never leaves my lotus feet even for a fraction of a second. Na chalati bhagavat padar vinda lavanimi shardha mapiya savaishnavagriya Bhagavatam. Who is the true devotee of God? The one whose mind never leaves the lotus feet of Bhagwan even for a fraction of a second. So Shri Krishna says, to such a devotee, I take his full responsibility. I take over everything for him. I do his yogakshem vahan. So, do we come in that category? No. We do not come in that category. But Dhruv came in that category. He did devotion to Vishnu until his mind was fully joined with him, fully surrendered. So, at that point of complete surrender, when all of your past karma is deleted, then God can fulfill any wish you have. The same thing with Draupadi. She was 100% surrendered to Bhagwan, so he came and he saved her. Now we understand. We shouldn't get confused that, okay, in our scriptures there is sakam bhakti, but what is the level of those people who are asking and God is fulfilling their desires? We have to get to that level. Just asking without complete faith and surrender does not result in God fulfilling our desires. If we ask with complete faith and surrender, then he will fulfill our desires. Even if it's the desire for bhakti, he will give it to us. But only upon complete surrender, not a second before that. So, is there anything wrong with asking him for worldly things? Anything wrong with asking him for bhakti? Nothing bad about it, actually. It's actually good. Someone is at least thinking about God, right? Even if they're praying to him for worldly things, even if they don't have 100% surrender, they're thinking of God. It's a good start. However, there's a danger in asking God for worldly things. It means that our feelings for God are tied to whether we're going to get what we're asking for or not. Now, if you accept what I've been saying about this law of karma, how we're all subject to our destiny and we have to undergo it, if this is the case, then you would have to analyze the situation in this way. If I ask God for something and it happens to be in my prarabdha, then according to my prarabdha, I will get it. But since I asked God for it, I will give him the credit that, oh, since I asked you for this, you've granted my wish. Thank you for listening to my prayer. And if I ask him for something that's not in my prarabdha, I'm not going to get it, then what will my reaction be? Oh, God doesn't listen to my prayers. He's turned his face away from me. So what's going to happen to our faith and surrender? Whenever something good happens to us that we wanted, our faith in God will increase. And then when something bad happens to us, our faith in God will decrease. I've met actually quite a few people who they've had some kind of tragic event in their life. And due to that, because they have this philosophical misunderstanding, they become angry with God. They question, how could a kind God make me suffer so much? How could God take this person away from me, my child, my husband, my wife? Something like that, when it happens to us, that's very hurtful. If in our mind we're thinking, okay, I've been doing so much devotion to God in this life, I'm a good person, I try not to lie, I try not to hurt others, and still God is giving me this kind of suffering, what kind of God are you? This is the reaction. I've met many people like this. So why does this reaction happen? Because the person thinks that God should be fulfilling my desires. If I'm being a good person and I pray to Him, He should give me what I'm asking for, and He shouldn't give me so much suffering. So this is a philosophical misunderstanding. This is our ignorance. We should understand that the good and bad that's happening to us is according to our karma. Why blame God? It's the outcome of our own past karma. So on one hand, you can say asking God for material things is fine, even if it doesn't match up exactly with the philosophy, but at least someone's thinking of God. Yet there's still a danger. If you go to Vaishno Devi and say, oh, Vaishno Devi, please grant me a child, I'm childless. And if there's a child in your prarabdha, you had a child born to you, so then you told everybody, you should also go to Vaishno Devi, see your faith in God has increased now. I went to Vaishno Devi and I was blessed with this child. Your neighbor has 10 kids. You didn't have any. But since you went to Vaishno Devi, you believe she blessed you with your first child. Now your only child falls ill. You're frightened that now my only child may die. So you again make a trip to Vaishno Devi. Vaishno Devi, you gave me this child. Please don't let them die. Your child gets better. Again, your faith in Vaishno Devi has multiplied. That whatever I ask for, she gives it to me. The fact is, Jivana marana yasha apayasha vidhihat. The time of death is fixed by your prarabdha. Whether you're meant to live 1 day, 1 year, 100 years, it's already fixed at the time you're born. It's part of your prarabdha. So it wasn't your child's time to go, so he didn't go or she didn't go. But we're giving the credit to Vaishno Devi. That's not to say Vaishno Devi shouldn't be worshipped, but we're tying our faith to our prarabdha. So now our faith has further multiplied. Let's say our child gets sick again. This time very seriously ill. We again pray to Vaishno Devi, please help me. But it's the child's time to go. So even the doctors can't save them, even Vaishno Devi doesn't save them. Then a common reaction may be, oh, Vaishno Devi, you gave me 1 child and you took him away already. My neighbor had 10 children. He's got an 11th on the way. You're so unjust, so unfair. So how is someone going to do devotion with this kind of wavering faith, up and down, up and down? We know that in life, good things keep coming and bad things keep coming in our life. So every time something good happens, Jai Ho Vaishno Devi, and every time something bad happens, oh God, you've turned your face away from me. How will we increase our surrender to God? So this is the danger if we ask God for material things. If you really want to ask God for something, why not ask Him for internal things? Instead of saying kashta mite tanaka, why not say krodha mite manaka? Help me get over my anger. Help me get over my worldly desires and attachments. Help me with these internal things. Give me more humbleness. Give me more faith in you. Ask God to help you with those things. No problem. That's good. By doing that, you're joining your mind with God. But leave the outer physical things. Well, just leave God out of that and let things happen the way they're meant to happen. You do your best and use your prayer, use your bhakti for joining your mind with God in a higher way, you can say. Asking God for bhakti, it's an okay start, but we can rise up higher than that when we have greater knowledge. So with this knowledge, and we can just decide, okay, God, I'm not going to ask you for bhakti anymore. I'm going to go to the next level of devotion where I'm only asking you for you. I'm asking you for divine things, not material things. There's another word that's used to describe this. It's called ahaituki. Ahaituki means hetu rahit. Hetu means a reason or a karan. See, in the world, it's very normal that we love someone or we get attached to someone for a reason. What kind of reason? Could be a person's beauty. For instance, there was a very beautiful young yogini named Yogashila. She was extremely beautiful and she used to practice yoga. And she lived with her parents. Now one day, a great king was passing by the village where she lived with his entire army. And he caught sight of Yogashila and he was immediately attracted to her. So he went to her father and he said, I'm going to marry your daughter. Yogashila didn't want to get married to the king. Thus, the father also didn't want to marry his daughter if she didn't want to be. But they were also afraid to deny the king what he wanted. So Yogashila said, Father, just tell him, come back in 1 month. Then he can marry me. So the father said to the king that, can you please come back, give us 1 month, come back after 1 month, and if you still want to marry my daughter at that time, you can have her hand in marriage. So the king agreed, but he left his army and he kept the village surrounded so that they wouldn't try to escape. During that month, Yogashila used her yog, the fire of her yog, to completely dry out her body. So she became so skinny, it was almost like looking at a skeleton with some skin hanging off of it. Even all of her teeth fell out. And after a month, the king came and rapped at the door, and Yogashila answered it. And the king said, I'm here to marry Yogashila. She said, I am she. The king said, no, there's no way. She said, no, I am. And the father came and confirmed, this is my daughter, Yogashila. Do you still want to marry me? No, I don't want to marry you. Oh, so all you wanted was my muscle and my skin and bones? Obviously. You didn't love me, you loved my beauty. Now my beauty is gone, your love is gone. Okay, good, now go. This is not ahaituki. There was a hetu. The reason for the king's love for Yogashila was her beauty. So if your love for someone is because of a certain characteristic of their, physical body or even of their behavior, if that thing goes away, then what's going to happen to your love? Jehite kachu, jehite kachu, swarath hoi, ta par mamata karai sab koi. Sur nar muni sab kiya hariti, Swaratha lagi karahi sab preeti. So this is the normal formula in the world, according to Tulsidas ji, that we have a reason for loving someone. Oh, you're so beautiful, so I love you so much. Oh, you're so wealthy, so I love you so much. Oh, you're so respected by others. You're so powerful, so I love you so much. Even when we're kids, the one who had the nice toys, the one who brought the best snacks to school had the most friends, right? We used to crowd around. I remember if someone brought a bag of potato chips or a bag of candies, when we used to have like a 15-minute recess to play outside sometimes in between the classes. So if someone brought out a bag of candy, all of a sudden they were surrounded by 15 or 20 kids all saying the same thing. I'm your friend. I'm your friend. I'm not even kidding. We all used to say that unabashedly. You don't realize at that time how silly you sound. Now we do the same thing. We're just much more chalak about it. That's all. Kids don't, they don't try to hide it. I'm your friend. Give me a candy. So if we have this kind of devotion to God, it cannot be called pure devotion. It has a condition, right? We're loving God. We're thinking, oh, give me some kind of worldly enjoyment, and the more worldly enjoyment you give, the more I will love you. The more I will have faith in you. So we're the same as the birds. Vriksham kshina phalam tyajanti vihagah shushkam sarah sarasah pushpam paryushitam tyajanti madhupa dagdham vanantam mrigah nirdravyam purusham tyajanti ganika bhrashtashriyam mantrinah sarvah swarth sarvah karya vashad jano bhiramate kasyastiko vallabha. When the fruit comes on the trees, the birds flock. And they come and they chirp and they eat the fruit. And as soon as the fruit's all gone, do the birds stay in the tree? Nope, they fly away. When there's nice clean water in the pond, the swans come and they swim around on the surface of the pond. And when the pond dries up, do the swans stay around? Nope, they leave. When there's fragrant, nectar-filled flowers on the plants, then the bees come and enjoy that. When the flowers dry up and fall off, the bees also leave. When the king has lost his power, his ministers also leave him. So we run the danger of being like this in our devotion to God if we don't try to rise above this level of asking God for worldly things. Then our love for Him becomes selfish. It becomes conditional on Him giving us what we want. Whereas we should try to be more like the chatak bird. The chatak is an example of ahaituki prem. You see, the chatak has a beloved. The beloved is the Swati constellation, which is in ascendance for only 2 weeks out of the entire year. There's only 2 weeks of the entire year when this constellation is in the ascendant, and the Swati bird will only drink the rainwater that falls from Swati during those 2 weeks. The whole rest of the year, the chatak will abstain from drinking water. In other words, the chatak loves his beloved only. But look at how his beloved treats him. Pavipahan damini garaji jhari jhakori khari khiji. He's asking him for water. The chatak is asking Swati for water, and what does his beloved give him? Thunder, lightning, hail. All year round he's testing him. giving him all these things that may disturb him, cause him discomfort. So what is the Chatak's reaction? Does he say, forget you, I'll find myself another beloved who treats me better? No. Roshana priyatam dosha lakhi tulasi raga hiriji. Tulsidas Ji says, look at the greatness of the love, the unconditional love of the Chatak, that he does not become offended by his beloved's negative behavior, but instead challenges his beloved. I will be balihar on your any behavior. You send me lightning, you send me hail, or you send me nice fresh rain to drink. It's up to you. In the words of Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji, Ashlishya va padaratam pinashtuma madarshanan marmahatang karotu va yatha tatha va vidadhatu lampato mat prananathastu saeva parah. Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji is challenging Shri Krishna just like the Chatak bird challenges Swati. You can treat me any way you want. So what is the challenge? The challenge is, I dare you. Treat me badly. And my love will only go on increasing for you. Treat me in a good way, again my love will go on increasing for you. Or ignore me altogether, and still my love will go on increasing for you. You only have three options, right? You can ignore me, pretend I don't exist. You can give me your affection, or you can show me your anger. How would such a sentiment apply in our life? We should challenge God. It doesn't matter how much suffering you give me, I dare you. Give me more suffering. My love for you will only go on increasing. I'm never going to ask you, even if I'm on the edge of death, I'm not going to ask you to come and save me. My job is simply to love you, surrender to you. I leave the rest in your hands. You're all-knowing. You're perfectly kind. Whatever you give me, I will accept as your prasad. Whatever God can give us will only be for our best. He can only grace, nothing else. His every behavior is sweet. Bhishma Pitamaha, when he saw Shri Krishna on the battlefield, running towards him with the intention of killing him with that wheel of the chariot. Because Shri Krishna had sworn that I will not pick up a weapon in this war, and Bhishma had said, I'm going to show the world that Shri Krishna is under the control of his devotees. He is Bhakta Vashya. He has sworn he will not pick up a weapon. I will make him pick up a weapon. So Bhishma was fighting so strongly, no one could touch him. And if he wasn't stopped, he was going to destroy the whole Pandav army. So Shri Krishna jumps down from the chariot, picks up a wheel from another smashed chariot, and holding it above his head, running towards Bhishma, he has the intention, I'm going to throw this at you and kill you. Bhishma is a devotee of Shri Krishna, and his beloved is running at him with his teeth clenched, his eyes red, and the intention of killing him. Can it get any worse than that? And what was Bhishma's reaction? Was his reaction to say, I don't love you anymore. You're going to treat me like this? No. Bhishma started laughing. Come Keshav, come Madhav. Shri Krishna stopped. What? He's happy to see me like this? Yes, he was so happy to see his beloved in that jhanki that even after Arjun had shot him with all the arrows and he was lying on that bed of arrows for 6 months, what did he have to do during those whole 6 months? He had all his time to himself, right? How did he use his time? He did Roop Dhyan. He meditated on the form of Shri Krishna. What form? That form of Shri Krishna running towards him with an angry look on his face. In other words, Bhishma's love was unconditional. He didn't say, you have to do this for me, then my faith will increase, my love will increase. He said, whatever you do, it's going to be sweet for me. So we should also aspire to this level of unconditional love. Our love should not be dependent on whether we think God is giving us what we want or not. We should just try to multiply our faith and love in God no matter what happens to us in this world. We should be ready to pass the tests that we are given in life. That even when something bad happens to us, did my love for God, did my faith in God decrease? Or did it continue to increase? We should be like Parvati and pass the test of our love. When she was doing devotion for a long time, trying to get Bhagwan Shiva as her husband, after a long time, Naradji and the other Saptarshi, they decided, okay, it's time for Shiva and Parvati to get married, so let's go and test her love for Bhagwan Shiv. So they went to her and they said, why do you want to marry Shiva? If you're looking for a husband, you should find someone who has all the qualities who can make you happy. See, normally what would someone look for in a husband? Can they provide? Do they have, some possessions, some wealth, some good qualities? Bhagwan Shiv, have you looked at him? Have you seen how he dresses? He's all smeared in ash. He's got snakes around him, a mala of skulls around his neck. He doesn't even have proper clothes to wear. He just wears a tiger skin. He has no house to live in even. He just sits under a tree and he doesn't pay any attention. He won't pay attention to you. He's always absorbed in his own divine state. So how is he going to make you happy, Parvati? Why do you want to make him your husband? You should make Bhagwan Vishnu your husband. He's got all the good qualities. He's got all the beautiful golden and jeweled ornaments, proper clothes to wear. He's the ocean of all the virtues. Why don't you make him your husband? So what was her reply? Janma koti lagi ragari hamari barau shambhu naturahau kumvari. She said, I will marry Bhagwan Shankar even if I have to do devotion to him for many, many lifetimes. And if I don't get him as a husband, then I will remain a kumari. I will remain single. I don't care. I'm not marrying him for his virtues, what he has or doesn't have. I love him, period. So she passed the test. After that, Saptarshi went, found a way to get Bhagwan Shiva out of his samadhi and encouraged him to marry Parvati. So we should also pass the tests. When the tests come in our life, we should examine our level of selflessness to God. Are we blaming him for anything? Are we asking him for anything? Or are we just saying, you know what, I'm leaving it in your hands. I'll take the good and the bad as your prasad. And my only job is to keep worshiping you and increasing my faith and surrender to you. We can go to an even higher level of selflessness, in fact. I'm taking you in levels. The first level of devotion, asking God for worldly things. It's okay to start there. But once you get the correct knowledge, you go to another level where you say, God, I'm not going to ask you for anything. Whatever you give me is fine. Then you can go to another level where you actually start thinking of Shri Krishna's happiness. One time there was a Babaji, this happened about 100 years ago near Barsana. There's a place we have a large ashram named Rangili Mahal in the village of Barsana where Radharani appeared and lived 5,000 years ago. So about a half-hour drive from where the Barsana hill is and where our Rangili Mahal ashram is, you come to this place where there's a mandir, and in the mandir there's a depiction, a carving depicting this Leela of a Babaji who had gotten his hair tangled in some bushes. How did he get his hair tangled in the bushes? He saw Shri Krishna. He saw him over there and he said, "Oh, Shri Krishna," and he ran to catch him because he was over there. He ran, and when he ran to catch him, Shri Krishna disappeared. And there were some bushes, and that Babaji's hair was kind of matted, and when he lunged for Shri Krishna, his hair got caught in the bushes. Now, he started to untangle his hair, and then he had a thought. What if my beloved is getting some pleasure from seeing me like this? It's possible that this is amusing to him. So let me stay like this. He stayed for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, a whole week went by. Finally, on the 7th day, an old man came to this Babaji who was still standing there with his hair entangled in the bushes. So this old man came and he said, "Babaji, I've been walking past this spot every day and I've seen your hair entangled in the same bushes for the last 7 days. Are you so lazy you can't untangle your own hair?" He said, "Now listen, sir. You shouldn't come between in a matter between husband and wife. Another person should not try to get involved." In other words, this Babaji felt that Shri Krishna is my beloved. I'm his preyasi. So you don't meddle, don't get in the middle. He said, "Babaji, I can help you? Can I untangle your hair?" He said, "Up. You should know better than to touch another person's beloved. You don't touch my hair with your hand." So the old man had to give up. He had to give in. In other words, he resumed his natural form as Shri Krishna. And he said, "Now can I untangle your hair, Babaji?" Babaji was chalak. He said, "How do I know you're my beloved?" "Well, I am. Look at me. I have my peacock feather, my flute, my blue skin. Am I not your beloved?" The Babaji said, "My beloved is also the beloved of Radharani. Unless Radharani comes with you, how will I know you're the right one? How can we validate your identity? Only Radharani can validate your identity." So Radha had to come also. And Radha and Krishna came and untangled that Babaji's hair. So this is just a glimpse of when you have that selfless devotion that you're even going beyond and you're saying, "Oh, what would make Krishna happy?" See how close you can get? Radha Krishna themselves came to that devotee and untangled their hair. So if we want to get the closest to Radha and Krishna, then we have to aspire for that level of selflessness. Nishkamata, ahaituki prem. In Vrindavan, 500 years ago, Rup and Sanatan Goswami, who were two disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji, they both lived in separate huts, very small, simple huts in Vrindavan. And every day they spent their day in devotion and service to Radha and Krishna. So Rup and Sanatan were actually brothers. And one day they met in the morning and they decided, actually Roop invited Sanatan. He said, do you want to come to my house for lunch? Sanatan agreed, sure, I'll come over to your hut and we'll share lunch together. So later in the day, Sanatan came and Roop had prepared kheer, the sweet milk and rice pudding. So when Sanatan and Roop, they were eating that kheer, Sanatan just felt something very exciting in eating the kheer. And he asked Roop that, where did you get the milk and rice and sugar and all the ingredients for preparing this kheer? He said, well, this morning I had a thought. After I invited you, I thought, it would be nice if we could make kheer. If I could make kheer and we could have kheer for lunch. So I just had that thought. And then not long after, a beautiful young girl came with some rice and milk and spices and sugar, and she gave it to me. So I used that to make the kheer. Then Sanatan understood. He said, Roop, you see, because of your one desire, Radharani had to come and give that to you. She's so kind, she's so merciful, and she watches her surrendered devotees, she watches like her own children. Whatever they need, whatever they want, she comes running. Sanatan says to Roop, I think we should be more careful in the future about what we think, that we should not trouble Radharani for anything. You see the level of their selflessness? They're not thinking, it's so great that Radha came and gave this. They're thinking, we should be more careful not to trouble her. We shouldn't have any such desire in our mind. We should only have the desire to please Radha and Krishna. How can we make them happy? So this is the ideal which has been set by our great rasik saints of Vrindavan and Barsana, the Braj area. And they have set this example for us to follow so that we can also try to inculcate such selfless devotion in our own hearts. So far we've understood that we should not ask God for bhakti. But there's one divine thing that we're not supposed to ask Him for either if we're going to be truly selfless. So what that is, I will explain to you tomorrow. Boliye Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai.